Welcome back to another round of women's games at the Rising High tournament here in Delft, the Netherlands. We've got Duisbabes facing off the local home team, Force Elektro. We are still during the first point. Duisbabes started on offense and they are now knocking on the doorstep of the end zone. We see the handlers surrounded completely by the Force Elektro defense, as the team has opted for zone defense, just like in all the other games that we have seen so far on the stream. And here is a nice continuation through the first cup. First point on the scoreboard. My name is Rachel Dosnerova and I am joined in the very, very wet commentary booth by John Doherty, my partner in crime. We have just experienced a 5-minute storm that has taken us by surprise, leaving all of our equipment and the pitch completely wet, making the already difficult conditions even harder for the players, for the fans that are currently hiding in the stands, the few that have endured the change of weather. Everyone else is watching from the warmth of the bar, which is situated just above this lovely green pitch here in Delft. John, do you want to summarize the tournament for us so far, or the games that we have seen streamed? What's the story today?
Yeah, it's been windy and we didn't mind that, but then it rained so much in the last 5 minutes and it just took down the energy level a bit. We got drowned. The last game finished. It was tough. The camera's having some difficulties because of it, so we're just we're seeing a bit of not sun now, but the rain seems to have passed, and these teams who just warmed up in the absolute terrible weather are probably regretting not staying out of the rain for a few more minutes before coming back out here to play. But yeah, no, it's other than the wind, it's been a good tournament. I think the teams have been better than I expected them to be in these conditions, and yeah, they're back into the play now. We have another hopefully close game here.
And we've had a funny situation happening. Force Elektro started on offense, but unfortunately one of their handlers threw up the disc and ended up catching it again because the wind just sent it right back into her arms, and that is, by the rules, a turnover. So that was a chance for Duisbabes, but an unfortunate drop gives the team in blue, which is Force Elektro, another chance. They are approaching the last third of the field, looking for some continuation. They do get it in the form of number 99 here on the near sideline, but that forehand is gonna sail not really towards the intended receiver. So one more chance for Duisbabes to maybe get a break. I think that's another turnover, unfortunately, right off the first pass. So Force Elektro with an upline strike and a put into the end zone, lands out of bounds. And a deadly corner for Duisbabes, sporting pink jerseys. Always like to see more pink on the pitch, as my own home team 3SB is making the color pink quite proud, I think, on the European scene, and has been for the past few years. So centering our Duisbabes, getting a quick flow towards the far sideline, unfazed by the slightly poachy defense from Force Elektro. The cup of the zone being quite spread out, allowing for the handlers to attack with upline cuts. Now a nice gainer to reach the halfway line. Lovely break through the first cup. Lots of experience on this Duisbabes team. To be fair, they are going in the downwind direction, making the throw slightly easier. The handlers working it patiently. Now they're knocking on the doorstep. Can they get the last pass in? They are thinking about it, but decide for the around swing. And a high release backhand over the head of the defender, and that is Duisbabes getting another one on the board. 2-0.
Yeah, very confident offense there, playing downwind, especially in these conditions. It's a bit windy now. The wind has been a big factor all day, but I think the bigger factor now is the rain on the wet disc. So a lot of throws not easy, most of them like somewhat easy, but a lot of passes in these conditions. A good sign for them going forwards. That was a break, I believe. So I
yes,
think yeah.
yes.
So again, 2-0 up, getting the break, not looking under any pressure. That was their D line. Although I think they don't even have an O and a D line. I'm not sure if they have enough players for two lines, but I imagine there's some bit of a D line and O line structure. So if that was their D line offense, it's a good sign for them for the rest of the game. And for Elektro now, they're going to get another chance to try and get that somewhat downwind. But I see the flags blowing, but where we're standing now, it's the first time all day where I would say there's no wind, but on the other side of the field there is wind, so don't really know if it's windy on the field right now, but whatever wind there is, this is the calmest wind we've had all day, so probably the worst time for us to have no actual stream of it, but not too bad.
So Force Elektro will try their luck one more time on offense. And Bochum, not surprisingly, with the zone. The pull only made it to about halfway line, so not too much of a distance to cover, but the disc falls through the hands of the person catching it. And Duisbabes will try to get on the break train and add another one. Lovely forehand shot collected expertly on the far sideline. Duisbabes happy to lose some meters in order to keep the possession safe, and of course, as I say that lefty forehand does not reach the destination, and Force Elektro pick up again. High release backhand over floats, and a very, very short field for the Germans as they stick up nicely in the middle of the end zone. They will be trying to attack the break side, but the handler a bit slow to pivot. That one was hand blocked, but still ended up with Duisbabes. But on the other throw, the wobble causes a turnover anyway. So Force Elektro one more time. John, do you want to tell us about the results so far of these two teams?
Yeah, so the way it's working in the women's division, there's 7 teams at the tournament, and what they've done for the first 3 games is basically a predetermined Swiss draw. So you know the 3 teams you'll play, but it works in a Swiss draw format, and the top 4 I believe will go into the semi-finals. And at the moment this is actually the 4v5 game, so Force Elektro are actually the only one of these teams that has a win, but they're currently the 5th ranked team, and Duisbabes are the 4th ranked team, and they have actually lost both their games. So this, looking at the kind of, I'm not sure entirely how the Swiss draw system works, how much certain things are worth in points, but if Duisbabes were
what you mean, you can't do the algorithm in your head, Joe?
If Duisbabes were to get a couple of points victory here, I imagine that would almost secure the top 4. Well, it would, because this is the 3rd game of the day for these teams, I think, so it would actually kind of round it out. But it seems like whoever wins this game, Force Elektro would need a kind of a comfortable margin of victory, I think, to pass them out. Whereas I think for Duisbabes, if they just get the win here, I imagine they would secure that fourth spot. But again, hard to know if there's some crazy results in other ones.
And there's a high release backhand into the end zone by Force Elektro, and they finally put a point to their name. Duisbabes still 2-1 up, but this one was a nice downwind score. Good to know for Force that they can do it, at least downwind. Still plenty of time to practice upwind. Lots of turnovers in that point again.
Yeah, so they needed to get that downwind, like we said. If Duisbabes took a bit of a comfortable victory here, then it would kind of secure the place. So Force Elektro here. Potentially there's a situation, the fact that they've already beaten a team, if that team wins their next game comfortably and this game is very close, perhaps they could push up in the rankings, but it is the 4v5 team playing against each other here in the Swiss draw format in the last round of the Swiss draw. So it does seem like this is kind of not necessarily a winner takes all, because I could see Force Elektro winning this by 1, but Duisbabes, if they win, again, like I said, I imagine it secures them a top 4 spot.
Drop off of the third pass from Duisbabes, giving Force Elektro a chance to show off their upwind skills and get a potential break here. A high disc lands in the arms of Duisbabes. Who are now up against match D, and a disc overfloats the intended receiver, and Force Elektro tried to respond with a quick deep shot, but a tall defender gets in the way, immediately throws it to the ground though. Happy to see, or good to see, the smiles on the players' faces, by now probably used to the fact that very little goes your way in the weather like this. So you just have to make the best of it. So Duisbabes pick up once more, centering the disc, horizontal setup downfield. And even though the cuts are lovely and the throws are precise, the drops are equally frequent. So Force Elektro goes the other way, but a defender in the open side poaching smacks that to the ground, and by smacking it into the wind even gets a few meters extra.
Yeah, both these teams struggling at the moment. I think that's 7 turns in the last 9 passes, so I think the first team to get a couple of passes together is probably going to score.
This was a lovely inside break to open up the next part of the play, and followed by another break, slightly longer pass into the end zone. Duisbabes with the score.
There we go. First team completes 2 passes, goal scored.
If you're tuning in, we are currently fixing up the damage done by the 5 minutes of heavy rain that we experienced towards the end of the last game. So currently we're on audio only, but thank you anyway for tuning in into our stream and following our coverage from this tournament. We will be here today and tomorrow bringing you the best out of this tournament, both the high and the rising division.
Yeah, so the score is currently 3-1 as well for anyone interested in our radio comms. Not sure if I'm seeing our viewer count on screen here, but
there are some of you.
Apparently we have 17 viewers who just like listening to the sounds of our voices. So
we love you. Thank you. Give us a follow on Instagram. I'm at Rachel KAN5, and Doc himself at
John Doc.ulti coach.
Okay, you might want to say that again.
Yeah. You'll find me, John Doc.ulti coach, if you're interested in someone who just likes talking about it. But yeah, maybe some of the viewers here after watching the finals of European Beaches, which I believe are all over now. So no spoilers in the chat. We might want to watch some of it after today when we're taking a rest from a long day here. But the sun is out now, and you're missing what's going to look like in a very nice venue. But trust me, the conditions are not so easy.
Nonetheless, Force Elektro back on offense. A little bit of an issue with the disc. They had to check it, I guess. Everything is taking a beating, not just our cameras, but the discs and players as well sometimes. They're swinging the disc nicely from side to side right now, looking for a continuation down the near sideline, and that was almost collected on the front cone of the end zone, but unfortunately out of reach. So Duisbabes in the front corner of the end zone, centering the disc immediately. Force Elektro opting for match defense, which is good and kind of fun to see after all that zoning that we've been commentating on all day. That is a high disc, but 3 Duisbabes players underneath it, so one of them was bound to get it, and they do. They get it off to the handler again, go through the break side. Forehand throw is a little too spicy for the receiver's liking, so the disc ends up on the ground once more. And Force Elektro go the other way. Look at that lovely sun finally showing its face in full. Can't believe we had to get those 5 minutes first. Deep shot goes up by Force Elektro. Oh my God, read perfectly. And there's a continuation into the end zone. Oh no, just out of reach again. But that was a lovely put. A high forehand throw rounding towards the far front corner of the end zone. But here are Duisbabes doing their bit. Once again, a little bit of thunder in the background. Force defense snaps that disc, intercepts the first pass for Duisbabes. Looking to attack the end zone one more time. They are within the reach, but forced to go backwards by the tight German defense. Nice upline cut, but it is not taken. Rather, they go through the break side, and the disc ends up on the ground once more. Duisbabes finding the in cut. There was an upline continuation, but the disc is a bit too high. So Force Elektro once again. And another unfortunate, I don't even want to say drop, it's just not a catch. Duisbabes working the disc down the near sideline. Even the most experienced handlers unable to get it off that. Forced to lose yards, big forehand break, but there is unfortunately no one. And Force Elektro once again. Looks like our camera might be up soon, as another disc ends up in between the arms and legs of the intended receiver and goes straight into the ground. One more chance for the girls in blue. Horizontal setup. And I think that's a third drop in a row for that player. But it's good to see her not losing
Watch it.
the good mood. And Duisbabes battling it out. That is a lovely cut up the line And here's another one, and a spike to finish us off. High release backhand for the score. Duisbabes. Add another one to their name. Going 4-1 up.
Yeah, I think players are just very happy to have that point over. That was a very long point. I think when we came back and we announced it, we were back on the radio comms. This has been the same point since. So upwind, and again, like we said, this is basically the 4v5 game, and Duisbabes basically, I think if they keep playing like this, it's going to secure them a spot in the semi-finals, which I believe is how the next round goes. So I think it's straight into semis tomorrow. So trying to just secure this win, keep it, even if they win by just a couple, or even if they lose by a very tight margin, I imagine would still be enough to secure them the top 4 spots. So potentially there might be further games if it's, otherwise it will just be 2 games tomorrow, which I think maybe there's potentially more. So, but I think just getting that top 4 seed just makes life easier, especially with the way the format is working. So it will just even mean they get the easier potential crossover game, which would be, if there was such a thing, it would be against the bottom seeded team, I would imagine.
So a nice pull out of Duisbabes. Force Elektro stuck on the near sideline, having to throw quite a lot a long backhand towards the middle, but they do get it off eventually. A nice grab. And a hand block from Duisbabes denied the continuation. And they're wasting no time to attack once more. They would like to keep the break momentum going. It's gonna go up into the end zone, and they were already celebrating as the disc was bouncing off the outstretched hands.
Yeah, unfortunately there. It was a really nice throw in these conditions. Basically perfect throw. Defender or receiver just unable to hold on to it. Like I said, it's still one of the better throws we've seen in this game in these challenging conditions. So Force Elektro going to get a chance to get one of their upwinds now. Let's see how they can do.
For now, they are just exchanging the disc in between the handlers, and as I say that, there's another turnover, and Duisbabes with a short field to go. They decide to go for the Hail Mary, and the defenders were expecting it and push the disc away.
Yeah, hopefully this one won't turn into as long as the last one. I think it would be very difficult for that to happen, but Force Elektro looking like they're going to have a tough time if they want to get this upwind here. Looks like Duisbabes are going to be the ones to eventually slot this in, unless Force Elektro can get off 1 or 2 aggressive shots early and maybe get themselves a chance to get into that position to get near the end zone. But at the moment they haven't looked like they were going to get close to it upwind.
So Force with a high pass that is ending up on the ground once again. Duisbabes pick up, go through the break side. Their handlers immediately find each other, but the pass towards the near sideline overthrown once more. Force Elektro centering. They're thinking about going forwards, but instead the disc lands behind everyone's back. And now Duisbabes, the German team, are going to pick it up right on the end zone line. So all they need is one good pass to finish this off. Instead, they decide to go backwards, and now finally The disc gets jumped in by their most experienced handler, Laura Olivieri, the German Masters team player, I believe, national team, very experienced on the beach as well.
I think it's 5-1 is the score now. Yeah, again. For Duisbabes 5-1, yeah. So we have the score on the wrong team here. It's Duisbabes are up 5-1, and again, looking very confident here. I think it's been the story of the women's division so far, where the games tend to be a bit one-sided. But I feel like in the other games, the games looked a bit closer. In this one, I feel like it's mostly looked like one team that we're going to get the job done. Duisbabes again, they've lost the game, they've lost both their games, whereas Force Elektro are the team with a win. But obviously, it just depends on who you've played in this Swiss draw round. I believe this might be the last round of the Swiss draw, or there might be one more before they go to quarters tomorrow, or semis, sorry, because there's only 7 teams. So again, points matter, and if there is another round of Swiss draw, every point will really matter. So I think for Force Elektro, it's been a tough start to the game for them. I think the best thing they could do now is maybe try and regroup. If they have stronger or weaker lines or power lines or whatever, I think maybe put them on for the downwind points. Just make sure you're getting your downwind points in. Keep yourself in contention for the later stages of the tournament, because you never know in the Swiss draw, sometimes 1 point, a bit like the European season at the moment, 1 point can make a big difference, even though it might not seem that important in any given moment.
The Ice Baby signaling the halftime in this game. We have 60-minute long time slots, so 30 minutes have passed. So I suppose that after this point, the sides and offense-defense switch will happen. But in the meantime, let's have a look at this German wall that is being broken through, and a lovely reception by Force Elektro. And they continue down the near sideline. Can they make it all the way to the end zone? That was gonna be a great grab, but it was unfortunately just out of reach. So Duisbabes one more time picking up the disc, and it is Sylvia Jordan who has been the steady hands for this German offense. And a high disc is read nicely and almost caught by Trümper. But Den Besten from Force will pick up and shoot to the end zone for a laser throw that is collected, and a huge celebration by Force. That was number 7, Birte Ditzen, with the, number 7, De Klerk, with the score for Force Elektro, and they're so happy to add one more to the scoreboard. 2-5 currently the score in this women's game.
Yeah, I think they've just felt like almost an eternity since they got the last score, and they're probably just happy to get that one. Happy to just be able to get that one on the board. And like I said, if they can just keep putting in their downwinds, it gives them a chance maybe if there's any more rounds. I do know many of the teams have finished their 3 games of the Swiss draw already, so some of the teams already kind of know where they're going to be doing tomorrow. It does seem like it's straight into semis. I just had a quick look at the schedule there. It was a little difficult to figure out, but it seems tomorrow, like, I think these women's teams will have 2 games. So I think, yeah, if is it a halftime? I'm a bit confused.
Yes, it was halftime before the jingle went when they started the last point. So
thought there was a bit of confusion on the line there. Some of the players looked like they were ready. I think she was just going up to give them the disc to let them know they have to pull. So I think Force Elektro here, they're going to need a bit of a. If this is the last round, they're going to need maybe the best 25 minutes of their lives of their playing careers to turn this one around to get back into the top 4. Otherwise, I think it's fairly decided already.
We're ready for those 25 minutes of their lives.
Yeah, let's see if they can do it here. No better place to do it than on a stream with ulti.TV as well. So
that's right, and if you're right there with them, tune in to the chat and join us. Let us know where you're cheering from, who your favorite players are, who you want to give a shout out to. If you've been to Rising High or if you are planning to come here. We would not necessarily recommend these conditions right now. I think watching from the comfort of your home and couch sounds a little more appealing than entering the winter wonderland. That was, of course, meant to be a metaphor, but now has turned into the truth as the players got rained on and are now facing the same strong wind as they have throughout the day. So it is indeed quite freezing, and hopefully we will get some more sun and more pleasant conditions tomorrow. I think it's right, yes. We're just having to double check the score with the players who wanted to make sure that they've got it right as well.
what would they do if they were on another field and there was no ulti.TV people that might know the score for them?
Oh, and an unfortunate drop by Force Elektro. We have Olivieri striking deep straight away, but I was going to say it was a bit too late, but it wasn't for her teammate Rabea Brandt. But unfortunately, the wind pushed it just out of reach of Olivieri. The two experienced handlers doing a big chunk of work for Duisbabes. But here's the home team for Elektro, but the first pass goes into the wind and down to the ground. And this time it's going to be Dietzen picking up for the German team in pink. A short discussion on where the disc went out. And as soon as the players reach their agreement, the disc is tapped in. And straight off the first pass, number 29, Stephanie Voss with the score for Duisbabes. And they are comfortably extending their lead in the second half, going up 6-2. Not the scoreline I expected at the start of the game. I didn't think we were going to get to even 5 points total, I have to say, John.
Yeah, I think they're just the last little bit. Duisbabes have got it together a bit more. There was one very long point, but other than that, they look much more confident team on the disc. They look to have the much more dangerous throws, and even there in the end zone is just a case of just one player setting up at the front of the stack, I believe, and just running straight open side. So I think Force Elektro will be hoping that they could do a little put the Duisbabes under a bit more pressure there, rather than just leaving the player run open side, especially in these conditions when every throw and every catch is just that much more hard, more difficult. You just need to, I think, just be a bit more aware on defense that if we can just make them throw like a break throw, even if it's a wide open break throw, it's just a slightly harder throw. And in these conditions with the combination of the wet ground and the wind, every throw then just becomes so much harder. But if you're going to just give them the kind of open side shots, they're not really going to mess those ones up too much. So again, Force Elektro still have some time to get back to the some scores on the board, but again, it only looks like Duisbabes are the only ones here that look like they're going to be doing much. But I think maybe a drop pull, kicked pull, not entirely sure.
I could not.
Oh wait, she pulled. They were on defense. Sorry, my bad. just a short pull. Never mind, my bad.
Just a short pull, yeah. Trying to not trying for the disc not to go the wrong way. Inside put by Force only gets them some extra meters to work with on defense, but the disc goes to the ground otherwise. Jordan with the pickup for Duisbabes, attacking from the front of the stack, overthrown but saved by another player from the stack. That's Kessler for Duisbabes now. Strömper on the far sideline. She gets the disc once again in the middle of the pitch. Should be looking for Jordan, but that disc was just a bit too far, so force Elektro once more. Sporting their blue jerseys. That was a visionary throw to an open player, Den Besten. Goes to Zagere. A very nice passage of play, unfortunately interrupted by the German defender. Jordan winding up for the big backhand, but just a bit too far for Kessler. Kessler being one of the first players I see wearing gloves. In this weather, I think that's a very good choice actually. And force Elektro respond with a deep shot of their own, but it is kind of to no one. And despite there not being too much defensive pressure,
except that extra defender that we can't see, the wind.
Right, Duisbabes give it right back. So Den Besten picks up for Elektro, finds Bröckert. And another turnover. Jordan winds up once more. These backhands go far, but they don't go as precisely as intended.
I think she's been watching too much of you play.
Roedre. That's my take on the Dutch pronunciation there. That is a lovely break from force. Finding Smith. And this high throw will go over the heads of everyone. Duisbabes, this one with a lefty backhand. That might curve the right way, but two defenders underneath it smack the disc, smack each other, and get the turn. All the receivers on the force Elektro side standing really, really far, making it difficult for the handlers to find some sensible choices. So Spiegelberg, the lefty handler, Maike, is gonna look for options herself. That is a great forehand. Second effort catch from Jordan. Spiegelberg again, this time the throw a little too far for her handler teammate. Force Elektro, thinking about the deep shots. They don't take it, and now that's a put worth looking at. Can they run it down? Unfortunately, a bit too far for de Klerk. That was a nice inside backhand that set nicely in the wind, sailed far, and now Spiegelberg will have to wait for her teammates to get closer. She was looking for Jordan once more, but just not there. And another deep shot from force Elektro, intercepted. And Spiegelberg finds Jordan. Jordan winds up. Inside backhand, that sails perfectly. It's sitting, but it is out of bounds. That was so close.
Yeah, technically a really nice throw, just a bit unfortunate to drift it out, and I think it would have taken a very athletic play there for that offensive player to even gain the yards by jumping from inbounds to out of bounds to touch it. And I think when you're 6-2 up, you don't need to put your body on the line to gain some meters on something that is going to definitely be a turnover.
And force with a probably sensible choice here, given that we have not had any timeouts in this game so far. They choose to take one, and as the teams huddle up, we're going to take a short break in the
Here we go.
This year, London Invite is bigger than ever, with 8 teams in the Open Division, 8 teams in the Women's Division, and for the first time, a full 8-team Mixed Division.
With 5 World Games teams, USA, Canada, Australia, Germany, France.
As well as the Tokai Super Team, is sure to be the ultimate showcase of the best in the world.
More teams, more streams, more stars, more ultimate.
More excitement.
You're not going to want to miss London Invite 2025.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ulti.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Welcome back after the timeout to the last slot of streamed women's game today from Rising High, a tournament in Delft, the Netherlands. Rachel Toshnerova for your enjoyment. On the mic today together with John Doherty, her partner in crime, life, Frisbee, everything. Commentating right now, actually. We've got Duisbabes, a German team, facing off the home team, Force Elektro. So far, the team in ping doing a slightly better job catching the disc in the end zone. John, would you like to summarize the game up until now for us?
Yeah, just again, the weather has been an issue all day for teams, but today we just added in the downpour of rain we had 5 minutes before the game, where basically everything in our equipment area was just getting covered in plastic bags, because it was just crazy amount of rain. So disc is going to be wet because the ground is wet, and when you add that into the wind, it's just a recipe for turnovers. And Duisbabes have been the team that have just basically had a bit more ability to manage that. And again, like I've said in most of the games all day, in these weather conditions, a small bit of a skill advantage can lead to a massive advantage on the scoreboard. And I know it's 4 points, you would say maybe it's not a massive score difference, but it's 75% of the points are going to one team, and they're the only team that looks like they're going to score an upwind as well. So
we're now entering the last stage of the game, about 14 minutes left on the clock, and Duisbabes get the turnover straight off the first pass. Spiegelberg, the lefty backhand for Duisbabes, will lose the disc herself on the first pass. So we're back to where we started right after the timeout. Here is Zagara throwing a deep shot to no one, but she did score a goal. That's the first time we're seeing it. So she's hit that. She has hit that soccer goal.
Yeah, we haven't seen that many. Yes, goals. We haven't seen that many discs actually going out the back of the end zone in that area of the field today, despite the weather conditions. So I don't think we've seen a single disc go out the back of the other end zone. That's just been the way it's been all day. Kind of a wind blowing into this near left-hand corner of the screen. So just all the throws difficult, and if you're going to shoot downwind, it's probably going to go further than you wanted it to.
In any case, Duisbabes now centering the disc. Spiegelberg having to get it on the second try. Now they find their teammate on the near sideline. Working it slowly but steadily, using their tall receivers. These were the hands of Miriam Trümper. Getting it towards the center. Trümper now again attacking the end zone. They're knocking on the doorstep. Spiegelberg examining her option. High release, lefty backhand for the score for Duisbabes to Greta Völke. The tall frames of these German women in the end zone area are making it slightly easier.
Yeah, I think like we said already, it only really looks like there's one team is going to score the upwind points in this game is Duisbabes, and just with the way the Swiss draw kind of groups are working, they might be even starting to think now, if they look at the points difference, that maybe they could get 1 or 2 more points here to take a slightly bigger lead, and it would make life easier for them potentially tomorrow if they can maybe move from the 4th seed up into a 3rd or 2nd seed in the bracket. Again, I'm not too familiar with the Swiss draw and how much points you can move up, but with only 3 games I can imagine you can get a pretty big swing in the points, and at the moment I think they're like -1, the team ahead of them is like +2. Again, like I said, not totally familiar with it, but I do know you can get a big change if you have one big result, so to beat a team right beside you by a lot would be a pretty good result for them, and if they can do that they'll move up. They might move up and get themselves potentially like an easier quarter-final or semi-final tomorrow potentially than it looks like they're going to get at the moment, so let's see how it goes for them.
So Duisbabes with a big put to make this downwind point easy. But they will have to get the defense there first. Olivieri preventing the around pass from Forrest. They're now struggling, but an offhand backhand will get them out of the pickle. But this next pass, oh, it will be collected after all. That's Lei with the catch, with the save. And she finds Kulen. Hamaka, but that one will wobble out of hands of Rinke. Olivieri to pick up for the team in pink, finding Brandt in the middle, and she gets it again on the far sideline. Nothing there, centers to Dietzen. Dietzen with a high disc into the end zone for the score. Stephanie Voss one more time. That's a 2nd score for Stephanie, but we have a defender down. I think there was a collision after that slide. So let's hope everyone is okay. About 8 minutes left on the clock. We want to make sure everyone finishes this game healthy and in one piece. Nonetheless, I think the score will stand 8-2. Duisbabes go up.
Yeah, and I think with the way they're looking in this game, they're looking like they could definitely be in contention to potentially win this tournament. I know at the moment they're only down in the 4th seeded area and some of the other teams are up ahead, but I think we've seen all the teams currently ahead of them playing today, and again, when it's this windy, it's kind of hard to tell the exact skill level of a team and where they're at, but I do feel like this Duisbabes team looks like a team that are capable of scoring upwinds with 1 or 2 throws, and I don't think too many of the other teams today look like they were capable of doing that. So potentially if they get a decent margin of victory here, they can get maybe a slightly more favourable semi, and there's a good chance they might look like one of the better teams we've seen today. So again, 7 teams in the women's division, and I do think going upwind they look like the most capable throwers, although I believe in one of the games earlier we had one of the teams where we felt their downwind, I think it was it might have been Amsterdam perhaps, we were saying that their downfield link up play with their players was slightly better, and that so potentially that could look like a matchup, but neither of those teams is actually top right now. It's I think it's Ude Cologne are the top team at the moment, and we haven't seen them on the stream, so it's hard to really know what the top teams today based on results so far looks like. But again, this team here in Duisbabes showing that they might be one of those teams tomorrow.
Force Elektro with a short field to work with due to that to that short pull, and this time they finally make it all the way to the end zone, and it still won't count because a travel will be called on the throw. Zagere moving or sort of pulling her leg slightly as she released that big round forehand for the score, so she will have to do it again. She takes the inside channel this time, and despite the great effort and a layout bid, the disc lands on the ground once more.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate there. Two decent throws, and both of them being very close to working out, but just not. I think that's the 5-minute warning now, so again, Duisbabes here are going to want to get every point they can on the board, and they're going to be fighting for this upwind because the top 4 teams in this group, I imagine a lot of things could change in this last round. So
that was a great catch to save that throw from Spiegelberg, towing the line, and the disc is back with Jordan. They work with Spiegelberg in the handler space, providing lots of resets, necessary resets, to give the receivers a bit more time to find the open spaces. Trümper in the mix as well now. Jordan thinks about the deep shot. Side against it, the forehand just a bit too rough. Oh, and great grab despite the defensive efforts. We see that open poach from Force Elektro, open side poach from Force Elektro again, forcing Duisbabes to go through the break side, and that was a good put, but just right in between 2 potential receivers. So one more chance for Force. And they go for the deep shot themselves. Neither Jordan nor the offensive player able to get there on time. So with the amount of turnovers, this could be the potential game point. And that's a great put by Duisbabes. Immediately trying to get it off the sideline. Jordan has Spiegelberg striking. And the lefty expert finishes with the assist to none other than her favorite target, Miriam Trümper. Duisbabes extend their lead once again.
yeah, another upwind break there as well, and I think that's just going to really pay off tomorrow if these conditions continue. I think we've seen everyone struggling today, obviously, to score upwind, but Duisbabes looking like I've said already, one of the few teams that look like they can actually do it in 1 or 2 passes. And I think tomorrow, if the wind is similar or even a bit less, just having the ability to get the disc up the field in 1 or 2 passes just makes you much more dangerous. So I think it was actually, I remember it was Flying Rabbits, I think it was, in the last game we were saying was the team that they looked like they were good at working it in terms of not just having to put all their good players in the handler positions. It looked like they had downfield players who linked up as well. So I think maybe Duisbabes maybe looked a little bit better than them in this game. Amsterdam Ultimate Club are the other team in the top, and then Ude Cologne are the top team yet, and we haven't seen them yet. But I think all those teams tomorrow, again, I haven't seen Ude Cologne, but I think the rest of them look pretty evenly balanced. So hopefully tomorrow we don't have so much wind and we can get to see some better ultimate, shall we say, rather than just struggling because of the wind.
So another 0 point by Force Elektro. I'm sure they would love to finish with a score here, but for now they lose the disc around the midline. Laura Olivieri running towards our cam to pick up the disc. Getting ready to take it from the sideline. And as the disc gets checked in, it falls out of her hands. But the players clear that up among themselves quite quickly, and this forehand will not reach the intended destination. And a few more meters for Force Elektro. And here is the main theme from Frozen announcing that the time is over. The perfect girl is gone, and so is the chance to win this game for Force Elektro, because this throw will get collected on the end zone line. And a hammer! If that had worked out, it would have been the perfect ending to this imperfect game. But Force Elektro get another chance, and that is fair because it is their home turf. And their fans at home looking at the stream definitely deserve a bit more extra action from them. But the first pass will result in a drop. And let's see if Duisbabes this time won't let that chance to take this game slip. They're looking for that front stack isolation, but Force say no, denied. We want to stay here. The sun is out. Let's play some more excellent women's ultimate. And they pick up the disc to walk it to the end zone line. And what better way to finish the game than with a Callahan? There is no call, a clear signal of a potentially retracted foul or something like that. Nonetheless,
Practicing some dance moves for tonight with the explanations.
A little bit of confusion. I think they will call this a point. They know the time is over, and the 1 point probably won't make a difference. So this women's game is over, but not our coverage, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. We are gonna continue with some bracket games, both in the Rising and the High Division. We've got a game of, let me quickly check, Bobsleigh and Force Elektro 2 coming up. So do join us, please. My name is Rachel, and I was joined by John Milan on the camera. Thank you for being with us, and looking forward to streaming for you again. But for now, we are checking out.